3:24. We're going to close up this week on the message that we began 2 weeks ago, entitled No Bones About It. We're going to finish up this week, I promise you. How many have enjoyed the last 2 weeks?
Amen.
I enjoyed teaching it. So I want to finish it up this week. I have a lot to cover because next week I want to prepare us a little bit more in detail for Pesach. So, is Brother Zachariah here? No?
Yes.
They're here? The family's here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what I want to do is I want your attention, because I'm going to go quickly, and this way we can go to a really deep Pesach message next week. Bereshit 3:24. Remember last week, a little bit toward the end, I was struggling with trying to find that scripture that talks about the veils with the cheruvim. Remember that a little bit? So it was, the reason I couldn't find it is it didn't exist exactly the way I thought it would exist, but it existed in various forms of the way I thought it would exist. He drove out the man, verse 24, and placed at the east of the Gan Eden cheruvim and a flaming sword turned in every direction to guard the way back to the Etz Chaim. Now remember I told you that when Yahweh made the temple, or when he instructed Solomon and David, and then later Solomon, to build the temple, that one of the signs that was where the Garden of Eden, Gan Eden, actually was the fact that there were cheruvim, angels, on the veil. Remember we discussed those things? But I had a difficult time because I knew it was there, but it wasn't exactly the way I thought it would be there. So we go to Shemot 26:31. Please pay attention. You're going to have to settle down now. Shemot 26:31. And you will make, speaking about the wilderness tabernacle or the Ohel Moed, you will make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twin linen of skilled work with cheruvim it shall be made, and you shall hang it. So we see the veil of the tabernacle had cheruvim or angels. Verse 32. You shall hang it on the 4 pillars of acacia wood, covered with gold. Their hooks shall be gold, and upon the 4 sockets of gold. Verse 33, Shemot 26. Again, the part 3, the final message, no bones about it. You shall hang up the veil from the hooks, so that you may bring it within the veil, the ark, so that you may bring inside the veil the ark of the testimony, and the veil. Now, this is what I want to show you, among other things. The veil shall divide between the Makom Kadosh and the most Kadosh place. So that veil with the cheruvim in Shemot 26:31, that veil with the cheruvim was the veil with 2 angels dividing between the Makom Kadosh and the Kadosh Hakdoshim, or the Holy of Holies. Now do you see it? That's what I was looking for last week. It's exactly what I was looking for. So now you see it? Now you see it? Now you see it. So, how many are with me? How many are really with me? So the veil with the 2 cheruvim divides the Makom Kadosh from the most Kadosh place, or the Kadosh HaKadoshim. There it is. Now, the fact that Yahweh put that in the temple, dividing the holy place from the Holy of Holies, is to me a heavenly sign that this is where the Garden of Eden was, and this is where those Melachim were that were turning to and fro, keeping everyone out, so they could not return to the Garden of Eden until Yeshua had come, and through him we can return to Gan Eden. So flaming cheruvim on the curtain, but notice, where was this curtain? Now Yahweh put the Kadosh HaKadoshim in the what? The westernmost part of the temple, and earlier than that, the westernmost part of the Ohel Moed, or the tabernacle. And so Yahweh dwelt in the westernmost part of the tabernacle, or of the temple, so that the curtain with the flaming cheruvim was where? Due east of the Holy of Holies, just like Genesis 3:24 says. Yahweh put those angels due east of the Garden of Eden, lest man return there in a fallen condition. So I believe that's the exact spot where Yahweh and Adam v'Chava used to walk with the Creator in the cool of the day. And because Yahweh kept talking about some future place in Devarim 16 and elsewhere, that he would choose when the children of Israel entered the promised land, where he would choose to put his name. They were in Jerusalem. Is that Angela here? I need some more juice. When the children of Israel had not yet entered the promised land, Yahweh kept talking about the place where he would choose to put his what? Name. I will put my name. I will write my name. And if we look at Mount Moriah, from the air we see Shin Daled Yud. We see a big Shin standing for El Shaddai. So the reason Yahweh knew that he would put his name in the city called Yerushalayim on the Temple Mount is because he knew what we didn't know. He knew that that was where the Garden of Eden once stood. And if you needed more proof, he says, when you get to the Promised Land, and when I have the temple constructed on Mount Moriah, I will put a veil with cheruvim, two cheruvim, with flaming swords guarding the way into the Holy of Holies, because no one can enter the Holy of Holies except one time a year, when the Kohen HaGadol entered the Kadosh HaKadoshim one time a year. You couldn't, I couldn't, he couldn't, she couldn't, the common man could not enter the Kadosh HaKadoshim. So where was that curtain? That curtain was what? East of the Holy of Holies. We just read that in Shemot 26:33. Part 3, no bones about it. We're going to finish up this message today. And so, that's clear to me that Yahweh was prophesying in the Torah, even before the children of Israel had entered and come into the Promised Land. Yahweh was prophesying in the Torah, this is the place where I will put my name. This is the place where I will put my name. This is the place where I will write my name. This is the place where I want to be worshipped at least 3 times a year during the Shalosh Regalim, or the 3 ascension feasts of Shavuot, Chag Matzot, and of Sukkot. And then we turn to Melachim Aleph. Melachim Aleph, 1 Kings, chapter 6. Melachim Aleph. First Reinos, or Reino, I believe, 6. Reyes, huh? Reyes. That's right. 1 Kings 6:31. Melachim Aleph 6:31. And we see something interesting in that where Yahweh describes the temple that was built by Melech Shlomo, Solomon. Yahweh says in verse 31, in the entrance of the speaking place, that's the Kadosh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, Yahweh made doors of olive eights. What's olive eights? Olive wood. So in the temple, before the Holy of Holies, or the speaking place, where was the speaking place? Above the mercy seat between the cherubims. Notice, the very speaking place was between the cherubims above the mercy seat. But what guarded the speaking place above the mercy seat in the Ark of the Covenant? What guarded? It was, again, 2 cherubims. So in case you don't get the point, Yahweh is doubly emphasizing the point. You follow me? He mentions it once, and then he mentions it again. So we see the 2 cheruvim on the curtains, and we see the 2 cheruvim where? On each side of the speaking place. The speaking place. So in front of the speaking place, Yahweh made 2 doors of olive eights. 2 doors of olive wood. Marvin, would you grab a seat over there, please? I don't want people sitting in the booth. Thanks. 2 doors of olive aids, and lintel and side posts were a 5th part of the wall, verse 32. The 2 doors were also of olive aids, and Shlomo, the designer, along with his friend from Lebanon, Hiram, carved upon the doors carvings of cheruvim. So the doors to the Holy of Holies had upon them the carvings of cheruvim. Are we getting the message now? So in the wilderness tabernacle there was the mercy seat with the 2 cheruvim. Then there was the veil before the Holy of Holies with the cheruvim. And then another set of cheruvim. When Melech Shlomo built the temple, he put on the doors carvings of 2 cherubs. For those of you who are still in the church, cheruvim is not a new cereal. It is cherubs. It's the Hebrew word for cherubs as opposed to Cheerios. And he carved upon them carvings of cheruvim and palm eitzim, open flowers, 1 Kings 6:32. And he carved upon them carvings, as we said earlier, gold, spread gold upon the cheruvim and upon the palm eitzim, verse 33. So Shlomo also made for the door of the hekel, circle that word hekel, post of olive aids, a 4th part of the wall. So, one of the few things that changed from the wilderness Ohel Moed tabernacle to the temple, one of the few things that changed was the fact that in addition to there being a veil dividing one place from another, there was also a set of doors dividing one place from another. So there was a set of doors and the set of veils behind the doors. The holy place, or the Makom Kadosh, was called the Hekel. We see that throughout the book of Psalms. Melech David says, "Bring me to your Hekel. Let me worship in your Hekel. Let me hear the sounds of Zion from your Hekel." Hekel, Hekel. Hekel doesn't mean to heckle someone. In Hebrew, it was the place of the holy place, the second sanctuary, not the Holy of Holies. The Hekel was the Makom Kadosh, or the holy place. So for the doors of the Hekel, Shlomo made posts of olive aids, a 4th part of the wall. Verse 34. And in front of the Hekel there were 2 doors of cypress aids, 2 leaves of one door folded, 2 leaves of the other door folded. And on these doors too, verse 35, Shlomo carved on them what? Cheruvim. Stop. So there were cheruvim on the curtains, and there were cheruvim on both sets of doors, the door blocking the way to the Kadosh HaKadoshim, and the door blocking the way to the Hekel. So there was 2 sets of doors in the temple, but originally in the wilderness tabernacle, there were 2 veils with cheruvim. Melech Shlomo, Solomon, builds the temple and adds a set of doors to the east of each veil.
Amen.
It's kind of like a double blockage.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Amen.
How many want me to end here?
No. No.
So the cheruvim and the curtains were on both, the cheruvim were on both the curtains and the doors, but both sets of doors to the Hekel and to the Kadosh HaKadoshim were both due east of the what? Due east of the Holy of Holies. So we see that Genesis 3:24 proclamation fulfilled over and over and over again in the wilderness tabernacle as well as in the temple. We see that pronunciation, that proclamation fulfilled over and over and over again. So the Hekel doors to the holy place are the doors. Now listen, they're also the doors to the Hekel were also known as the Nicanor doors. Okay? And we see that in the Jewish Talmud, we see that in the Brit Hadashah. And when those doors swung open, the veil behind the door to the Hekel was rent in two. That was the veil that was rent in two. It was not the veil of the Holy of Holies. Absolutely, positively not. Because if it was the veil to the Holy of Holies, then nobody standing on the place of the skull, Mount Moriah, could see it. Why? They would have to see through two sets of doors and two curtains.
Come on.
And it says clearly in the Brit Hadashah, it says the veil to the holy place was rent. It says it in Hebrews, it says it in the Besorah, in the Gospels. Why was it the veil to the Hekel that was rent and not the veil to the Holy of Holies? Because Yeshua showed us, Yahweh showed us, that we can return to the holy place, but only Yeshua ministers and functions in the Holy of Holies. So he ripped the veil to the holy place where who used to minister on a daily basis? The Kohanim, the priests, the representatives of Yahweh, used to minister on a daily basis. Yahweh ripped that veil, swung open the doors of the Hekel, showing us that now we don't have to be sons of Levi and Aharon to be priests and ministers of Yahweh, that we can minister daily in the presence of Yahweh, just like the Kohanim in the Tanakh, but now we can do so without Kohanim DNA or Levitical DNA. So in other words, we are allowed to minister in the place where the Kohanim were allowed to minister in the Tanakh, within the holy place, never within the Holy of Holies. So that whole Christian teaching that the church teaches, we enter the Holy of Holies, we enter through the blood of the Lamb, pistachio nuts and almond peanut butter. Baloney. It's a religious myth. If you could enter the Holy of Holies, why do I need Yeshua? Why do you need Yeshua? You can just barge in to the Holy of Holies and declare yourself the high priest over Israel, and you don't need a Yeshua. The whole gospel is eliminated and negated in its purpose. The point of the gospel is to provide you with a Kohen HaGadol, because we just can't barge into heaven, into the presence of the Father himself. That Yeshua has to do for us. So what was ripped? The doors of the Hekel swung open. The veil behind those doors of the Makom Kadosh was ripped, seen from the Mount of Olives, but the door to the Holy of Holies remained shut. The veil in front of the Holy of Holies, behind the Hekel doors, was rent. You follow me? There were two sets of veils behind two doors. The door that opened and the veil that was rent or ripped was the one leading to the Hekel and not to the Kadosh HaKadoshim. That's very key, because Satan has managed to put a disease, a sickness in Christian theology. Listen. Shh. A disease that they think that through the blood of Yeshua, that it was the curtain to the Holy of Holies that was ripped. If it was, then no one, including the centurion who stood on the summit, on the Rosh, on the skull, where Adam was buried, on the Mount of Olives, could have seen through two curtains. Because in order to see the alleged tear of the curtain leading into the Holy of Holies, he had to have X-ray vision. He had to be able to see through two sets of doors and two curtains. The doors to the Hekel, the curtain behind the door to the Holy of Holies, and the veil behind the door. He had to see through two veils and two sets of doors.
Come on.
But in order to see the veil of the holy place, the Makom Kadosh, the Hekel, ripped, Yahweh opened the doors by the Ruach HaKodesh, and he saw that one veil, the only one that he could see, ripped in half. That's the one that he saw. Do you follow me? The Gospels speak about the fact that he saw the veil ripped. if the veil to the Holy of Holies was ripped, he would have had to have x-ray vision, seeing behind a set of doors that Yahweh never opened, and a curtain that was behind the second set of doors. This is not just peripheral stuff, sister. This is not just peripheral stuff, brother. This is key stuff to know who Yeshua is and who you are. He is the creator, we are not. He is the potter, we are not. We are the clay.
Amen.
He goes into the Holy of Holies, our Yeshua, we do not. That is one of the most demonic, seductive teachings in Christianity. Now they do it innocently, they don't know any better. Because they're ignorant of Jewish history, they're ignorant of the tabernacle worship, they're ignorant of the temple worship. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So when Yeshua died, the temple doors of the Hekel, the Makom Kadosh, swung open. The veil behind the first set of doors with the cheruvim was ripped. And so then, Yahweh opened both of the doors to the Hekel to expose the veil that had been ripped, separating it from the Holy of Holies, so that the veil was behind the door. You get that?
Yes.
So this is Yahweh's way of saying, hey guys, you know all those prophecies about when we go to Jerusalem, I'll put my name there? You know all those prophecies about when we go to the land of Israel, I will show you a place where I want to be worshipped? Not any place. You cannot worship and sacrifice to Yahweh any place. It must be in the place of my choosing. Remember that?
Yes.
That is the Garden of Eden. That is why Yahweh put those cherubim there and not in Hebron. That is why Yahweh put those cherubim there and not in Tel Aviv. That is why Yahweh put those cherubim there east of the speaking place. Why does the Torah call the Kadosh HaKadoshim the speaking place? Because that is in Genesis, in Bereshit, where Adam v'Chava walked with Yahweh in the cool of the day. It was the speaking place, but Yahweh covered man's return to the speaking place by putting two flaming cheruvim that turned the sword. The Hebrew word sword is cherev. It turned the cherev, which is also the same word as Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, cherev. It turned the way to Horeb back and forth to prevent man from returning. Are you with me? Are we going? Now, in Ivrim 9:5, I want to show you something. But please, on one condition. That you don't tell anybody. Deal? Give me 5. Don't tell. Shh. This is our little secret. Ivrim 9:5. I said Ivrim 9:5. Hebrews 9:5. The writer of Hebrews, who was Rav Shaul, definitely, not maybe, definitely, it wasn't Barnabas, and it wasn't Uncle Fester. The early Kehillah believed and recorded that Paul wrote the book of Hebrews. Those who teach today that nobody knows who for sure who wrote the book of Hebrews, that's part of their attack on the inspiration of the book of Hebrews. If you don't know who wrote it, then maybe Satan wrote it. If you don't know who wrote it, then maybe Uncle Fester wrote it when the Addams family started. Okay? So that's part of the attack on the inspiration of the book of Ivrim. Ivrim 9, but in the early Kehillah it was beyond dispute. Rav Shaul wrote the book of Hebrews. Beyond dispute. Todah Rabah Yahweh. Thank you, brother. Ivrim 9:5. Over the speaking place and the tablets of testimony and Aaron's rod that budded. Let's go back to verse 4. The innermost court, or the Kadosh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, had the golden censer. Now, some people say, oh, that can't be, because the golden altar of incense was in the Hekel, or in the Makom Kadosh, and so this can't be inspired. The book of Hebrew has errors, Because we all know, anybody that knows the tabernacle and the temple knows that the censer or the golden incense altar, that where they took the censer from the golden altar of incense, was not in the Holy of Holies, it was in the holy place. And here it says that the golden censer taken with the incense of the altar of incense was in the Holy of Holies. It can't be inspired. What those bozos don't understand is that on Yom Kippur, the Kohen HaGadol would go into the holy place, take the incense from the altar of incense, and take the golden censer and carry it into the Kadosh HaKadoshim once a year, according to Vayikra 16. So next time you go to the internet and read, the book of Hebrews has a lot of mistakes, and this is one of those mistakes, that the Holy of Holies didn't have the golden censer. Tell them that Rabbi Moshe said, you don't know what you're talking about.
Teach! Teach them!
Just too difficult for you? Simple, Pashat. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. But that's not what I want to talk about. Look at verse 5.
That's good though.
Over the tablets and the rod, notice, in Hebrews 9:4, there's Aaron's rod that budded, which was what? Part of the